And now we have on stage Mona Lisa Banerjee to share with us her Cvent success story.
Is this working? Okay, wow. You can hear yourself really loud when you're up here. Good evening, Cvent. Who's ready to hit the bar? Do you see it set up right at the back? Turn around, everyone. I know I am, almost. So I won't take a whole lot of your time. My name is Mona Lisa Banerjee, and I am a senior implementation analyst, now a project consultant. I just got promoted today, with the PSA implementation team based out of India office. Now, you haven't heard much about this team because we are a small group of people catering to our very niche, super high value customers. These are mostly Fortune 100 to 200, so we are very hardcore. I love my job, as you can tell, and I can go on hours and hours about it, but that's not why I'm here today. I'm here today to speak about the other side of me, the side perhaps very few people here are privy to, and a smaller few know the details of. Take a look at this picture. It is definitely not a Picasso, for sure, and by no means that of a budding artist. It is a picture that my daughter drew when she was 7 years old, and she was given a project to depict her family. It has me, her, and yes, that third creature there is a dog. I mean, I know there are no prizes we are getting for this one. Yes, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and I love both of them very much. So most people come and tell me, being a single parent is so brave. And yes, it is. It absolutely is. But it is also perhaps the most peaceful I have ever been in my life. And it is something that I would not trade for anything under the sun. But how is that possible? Really in this country, if you're divorced, you're a level 1 social outcast. And if you're a divorced single mother, you're probably at a level 100. But if you're a divorced single mom and you're happy with your life, you're just crazy. I'm happy because I know I have paid heavy prices and been through some really intense times to get here. So things were never easy for my sister and I since our childhood. I was 11 and she was 14 when we lost our dad. When you lose a parent at that early an age, reality checks set in very quickly. You learn how to fend for yourself and try not to rely on people too much. So I went through that phase and I put myself through college and I started working at the age of 17 and all was fairly well. I joined Cvent in 2007 as a product consultant, and after a month of training, we were thrown into the deep end of the pool. So here I was doing great at work, making go-live records, competing with friends, and essentially having a blast while doing it. Before I go to kind of the next segment, can you tell me how many of you are between the age of 22 to 26? Just raise your hands. Wow, okay, great. So this will make a lot of sense to you. I met a guy here, my now ex-husband, and because we have phenomenal taste in men and women when we are 24, I decided this is someone that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. But since there is no life without storms, mine too was waiting just around the corner. I lost my mom to cerebral hemorrhage shortly before my daughter was due. And suddenly, I was uprooted and extremely lost. Parenthood is supposed to be a very happy time, and it is. It is a time that makes you reflect and usually sets even the most wayward of people right. Unfortunately, for some though, it doesn't apply to all people, and my ex was one of them. So while I was coping with my own personal loss and trying to brave through being a new mom, he, seemingly overwhelmed, took to drugs. You know, in retrospect, I like to think of that time as a time when I was living two lives. I was doing well at work. I went from being a product consultant to a senior product consultant to the first relationship manager based out of India. I traveled all of Southeast Asia for different client on-sites. I got bigger and better clients. I had friends at work. So things appeared pretty good. But my personal life was a whole different story. Things went from bad to worse with my ex's drug problem, and I, who was typically so used to being in control, could not do anything to prevent it. In leading these two lives, I personally slipped into chronic depression. I gained a crazy amount of weight, and while on the outside I kept going and appearing strong, on the inside I was in a very dark place. And then, because we make stupid decisions in the bad phases of our lives, I decided to leave Cvent. You see, there's the thing about taking good things for granted. You take good people for granted. In my 5-year stint at Cvent, I had gotten used to and comfortable with the good. The perks of being an old employee, knowing the CEO and the SVPs on a first-name basis, and having a work environment that is conducive to your organic and professional growth. I left and I joined another company, only to realize that things are not that rosy in the outside world. The new place was an eye-opener for me. I soon realized that I was working for someone that had no morals or ethics, and it was a crazy sexist environment. To define for most of you, because you work at Cvent and probably don't know what sexist means, it means you're treated as dumb just because you're a woman. So now, with my marriage already out of control and breaking down, I had a job that required me to work 18-hour workdays, swallowing my pride and sometimes my intelligence. And then came the final storm. My marriage took a violent turn. A turn I hadn't expected ever, because I was an educated, empowered young woman living in a big city. Those kind of things don't happen to us, right? But the truth is that they do. And the other truth is that we put up with them. So one day, after an evening of crazy arguments and violence, I found myself staring at my daughter's scared face, and I said, enough. I said enough, and I took both my kids and walked out on the farce that was my marriage. I started reaching out to friends and family, some of who are sitting right here. I got reactions of shock, anger, and even amazement. You see, my friends wondered how I had survived this long, keeping all of this bottled inside. Knowing how big a mountain I had to climb and my path ahead, I called my second home. I remember my conversation with Reggie very clearly, and he telling me, "We would love to have you back, Mona." And I felt this weight lift off my shoulders. Yes, I knew I would have to jump through all of the different hoops, and I didn't mind any of it. But the prospect of getting back to a place that gives you respect, recognition, and support was more than enough to lift my spirits. And so I rejoined Cvent in May 2016 and started rebuilding my life. I went from here to here and then here. In a span of 2 years, yeah. Go gymming. I lost over 40 kgs of weight. I finally got my daughter's custody and my divorce last year in August. I got promoted today. And I try not to look back. In the last decade that I went through the roller coaster of the journey, I had highs and I had lows, and I have just learned the one truth. If you're honest, committed, and you persevere, you can overcome anything that life throws at you. In the end, I leave you all with beautiful pictures of my family, my Cvent family, my friends, and my lifelines. Thank you all for listening.